after the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in Imola. I want us to look at what happened in Emilia-Romagna. Why has the Red Bull regressed? The teams with upgrade, how did it affect them? What is really happening to Mercedes? And the critical analysis of the Ferrari upgrade, because most people don't really understand the Ferrari upgrade. So let me start with the race. Max Verstappen won the race. Like I said, I own it up because I said he won't win, because I knew he was not meant to win. It was a close race. And from what I was looking at from Miami and the datas I was looking at before the race, the Red Bull does not have the chance. And McLaren shows more consistency and Ferrari showed more consistency. And I also said if Piastri had not been demoted, I think it would have been tougher for the Red Bull. But all in all, Red Bull won. Congratulations to Max Verstappen, and good job from McLaren and from Ferrari. Leclerc is doing a good job in races. He's doing a better job in qualifying than the beginning of the season. Let's go to the race. We've seen the way other teams have closed up, and it has shown in the first 6 races how the cars have been tumbling down, seeing the victory time between the first and second reducing drastically from Bahrain. I think from Bahrain we had over 22 seconds. It was about 44 seconds or 33 seconds, but now we're having 0.710, which shows teams have closed up. Even in qualifying it has closed up, and the team that had the biggest close up right now is the McLaren. Though the Red Bull still have the upper hand, but McLaren have really developed, and they've developed to a point in which they have closed the game up, they've chaptered it up, and they are really pushing the Red Bull. And we can see the mistakes Red Bull are already making. Now we can see it that the Red Bull are telling us that, like Mercedes were doing all through last season, 2 years ago, and this season, that they will have to send their reserve driver to their headquarters in UK, in Silverstone, over the night to work on how they can get the best out of the car in qualifying in race. The same thing is happening to Red Bull now. They have to send their reserve driver, which is Sebastian Buemi, back to Milton Keynes in UK to work all through the night, about 11 hours on the simulator, to get the best that they can get from the car so that they can push the car forward, which shows they are under pressure already, and so many things are going to happen soon. It shows that the advantage Red Bull had is already diminishing. And why has this diminished? Other teams, simply the McLaren had developed. They've developed at a faster rate. This time last season the McLaren were nowhere to be found, but by the middle of season they brought upgrades that pushed them, so they already know the direction they are going to, and with subsequent upgrades they are bringing, it's showing that they are in the right direction. So the McLaren are beefed up. Now the question is, the RB20, which is a new philosophy, does Red Bull really understand the philosophy of this car? Now the RB19 was a car, undoubtedly the best car in F1. Now most people don't understand that you can have the biggest engine, the best engine, the fastest engine, but if the aerodynamics is not there, it's as good as the engine is a chiming cymbal. Let me use a Mercedes as an example. You have a G-Class, a GL, and you have a G-Wagon, and you also have the S-Class, and you put the same engine, the same V8 engine, power output, everything the same. Maybe let's say Brabus engine, Brabus 900 HP, or Brabus 900 as they will call it, in the same S-Class. In an S-Class, the same Brabus 900 in a GL, the same Brabus 900 in the G-Wagon, and you want the 3 to have a speed test. Which car will finish first? Now let's put it in consideration, the same tire, 22 inches standard. Which car will finish the race first? I can tell you it's the S-Class. Why? The S-Class has a very limited low center of gravity. It's closer to the ground. The aerodynamic is well designed on the S-Class, that to be able to move through the air faster than the 2 other cars. That's the GLS and the G-Wagon. Now which car will come second? The GLS. Which car will come third? The G-Wagon. Now the vortex that is generated underneath the S-Class will suck the S-Class closer to the ground and to be able to move forward faster than the GLS. The GLS will come second because it is a little bit lower than the G-Wagon, and the underneath is covered, so there are less places the air can enter underneath the car, so the air can easily breeze through. So it comes second, and the G-Wagon will come third because the clearance from the ground is high. So which means you need to have the right aerodynamics to make your car go fast. Now we've seen that since Andre Newey joined Red Bull, they've had the best aerodynamics, the best. That's why some team principals are saying, and they keep saying it, if Max Verstappen had been in another car, he would not have won all this championship. And if you put other drivers in that same car, they would have won. Even some would have won better than he did. And I'm sure they're talking about Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris, and some of them, I think they're looking at Hulkenberg, who is also a very, very good and talented driver. Some of them are talking about Fernando Alonso. Yeah, I should pick Fernando Alonso immediately after Hamilton. I should have picked him. Sorry about that. Also, we are looking at Daniel Ricciardo, who did a great job when he was paired with Max Verstappen. We're also looking at Carlos Sainz. These guys are great drivers, great drivers. So if they are put in the same car, they might have won performed better than Verstappen did because we are talking about aerodynamics this time. So let me give you a snippet. Put the Mercedes-Benz engine, which I think is still the most reliable engine on the grid now, in the Red Bull well-designed car. Anybody in that car, if that person is not winning championship, get him to a mental hospital and treat him 100%. That is why the Red Bull are still the benchmark, and the RB19 car, can it be developed into RB20 to make it faster? I'm not sure. I said that last year that if the Red Bull tried to develop the RB19, it might not work for them. That the best thing is to develop a new car, which they did. They developed the new car, the RB20. Now, do they understand the RB20? I am not sure they understood the RB20. And I think one of the deficiencies the RB20 is having is, one, they need to look at the floor. They've had the second best floor since last year, which is behind the Williams. And I don't know what is wrong with Williams this year. So I think RB has the best floor. But still, that floor is not working with the aerodynamics of the RB20. And I think they still need to look at the front suspension, the way the air travels through the front suspension into the aerodynamical part everywhere that is meant to go through to give the car the right aerodynamics. And also, they need to look at their rear suspension also. I think that is where Red Bull really need to focus on. The front suspension and the rear suspension were designed by Andre Newey. And I think from what he designed, he said he designed the best suspension for that car. Before they brought upgrades, that car was fast. But immediately they brought upgrades in Japan and McLaren brought their upgrades, we saw it diminish. The upgrades they brought in Japan kept them in a stable condition, or should I say regressed them a little. So I think Red Bull need to look at the upgrades they brought and see how they can reprofile it and make the car, the upgrades, better, because it has not moved them forward. They've tried to bring some other few upgrades, but I think they still need to go back to the drawing board and look at the upgrades they've brought, if it has really taken them, because I'm taking them backward, because I think the upgrades did not push the Red Bull team forward. Now, to other teams that brought upgrades, we have Aston Martin bringing upgrade. Let me talk about Aston Martin here. Aston Martin's upgrade, like last year, had regressed them, and I think that's the same thing that happened to Red Bull. Aston Martin was the second fastest car last year, and immediately they started upgrading the car started going down. Aerodynamically, the car was unable to compete with the Mercedes and the Ferrari. Towards the end of the season, they brought some right upgrades that brought them on, picked them up again, and they were able to compete. The upgrades they've brought, I think they really need to look at it. Monaco is not a place they can look at the upgrades to see if the upgrades will work. That is for the Aston Martin. They need another track, and they need to go into simulators to see how these upgrades are working, or if they are really not working for them, to know what they will do about the upgrades. As brought upgrades is an high profile upgrade, but did they really move them forward? In qualifying, they moved forward. They had a good qualifying with Nico Hülkenberg, but in the race, the midfield battle was so high and so intense. They did their best. The upgrades moved them forward, but they are unable to show the strength of their upgrade during the race. For Viv Cab, since they brought the upgrade, they have been challenging the top teams. At least they have been challenging Mercedes. Though they didn't bring any upgrade in Imola. The Stake team brought upgrades, but I don't see where the upgrade took them to. It has not taken them anywhere. For Williams are now telling us that the car is overweight, so they need to share the weight. I think it was the Alpine that had overweight issue, but now it is now the Williams. They need to share the weight and bring upgrades that will bring the weight down and also push them forward. Yeah. To the Alpine, there was not much improvement for them this weekend. I believe they're still struggling. And the Mercedes, little steps. We can't say the upgrade took them forward or not. They enjoyed Friday. Saturday was a worse day for the Mercedes. The same thing they enjoyed on Friday, they could not find it on Saturday, which has been a big problem for Mercedes since the beginning of the season. The car has been inconsistent. The car has not been stable, and the drivers have not been able to find a sweet spot on the car for them to be able to ride the car the way they want the car to ride. So I think they will still need to bring more upgrades. From what we hear, they are bringing upgrades in Monaco. Will it work? I don't know, but they still need to bring more upgrades to push the car, to make the car faster, and to make the car competitive. Right now, Mercedes is not competitive. They are not in the league of the other cars. They can't compete. Will I say they are close? They are not close. Mercedes are not close. They are still where they are. They need to bring upgrades that will bring them closer. And I've spoken about the Mercedes floor in so many of my podcasts. They need to get the floor right. The floor is not generating the right vortices for them to be able to drive the car the way they want. And also the rear of the car. One, let me talk about the Y250 front wing vortex on the Mercedes. Mercedes will bring up technologies that are way beyond the car, are not really working for the car. They have like 3 or 4 front wings set up changing for the car, and it has not really worked for them. I think they still need to look at that. Do they need the Y250 vortex? Mercedes, do they need it? I'm not sure they need it. Their suspension, they've reprofiled, they did so many things, but it still didn't work. I think they need to really look at what they need and provide solution to that front suspension. This moving, angular moving of the upper arm, it has not worked. The rear suspension, they should not make the same mistake Aston Martin made. Aston Martin brought new suspensions and it has not worked for them. They should be careful to look at the rear beam wings and some other parts at the rear, and also their push or pull rod system at the back, to know which will work better for the car before they start bringing rear suspension that will work or that will not work for the car. Now to Ferrari that have brought upgrades. Now a lot of people have criticized Ferrari that the upgrade they've brought did not work. Now Ferrari have said they've only brought 9 upgrades, and these are minute upgrades that they expected to put them where they are, but not to put them above where they are. So I think we should believe Ferrari for now, because at least they are still in the right direction. They are far better than the Mercedes going in the right direction, because Mercedes are still confused. For over 3 years, Mercedes have been confused. With the injection of money, pace, I'm not seeing any results with the Mercedes. So Ferrari, I think, have brought upgrades that have put them in the right direction. They just need to bring more to give them an edge on their long run, not just long run simulation, on race pace and also in qualifying. If they can get that and be on par with Red Bull, it's a real competition for us to watch this season, which is what everybody is waiting and looking at to see, because everybody wants to see a 3-way or 4-way competition, or even a 2-way, not just a lonely competition for Red Bull. When we have 2-3 ways competition, it makes it more interesting, it makes the race more exciting, more fans, more adrenaline, more money for F1. So you understand. So I think that is what we need. With the direction Ferrari is telling us they are going to, I think they are bringing more upgrades, maybe in Monaco or Canada, which will also shape or determine their season. But Red Bull still needs to work hard. They need to work hard if they want to win this championship easily. But this championship is looking like it's not going to be easy from this time on. It's going to be very, very difficult for them. Going to Monaco is a specific track that your qualification will determine how you win. So teams would really need to work hard to qualify very well so that they can have a better space of competition in the race. If teams don't put themselves in a better space of the race, I think it will be difficult for any team that qualify below 10th position to come back and do any magic in the race. They need to qualify up, especially teams like McLaren, Ferrari and Red Bull. Those 3 teams need to qualify towards the edge so that they can have a decent, good and quality competition ahead, and we can watch and enjoy this beautiful race of Formula 1 in Monaco. And that, I think, should explain why these teams with upgrades and those that are leading before are lacking in pace, and those that have gained pace are really working hard. McLaren had done a good job, Ferrari is doing a good job, and I think Red Bull also should do a good job if they want to maintain their pace and keep the competition big and open. If they don't do that, I think we might see a change of baton as soon as possible to McLaren or to Ferrari, or Ferrari and McLaren challenging each other, while Red Bull would be a little bit at the back, and that is not the competition a lot of people want to see. For Red Bull fans, they want to see Red Bull still competing and still winning races, but for a lot of Formula 1 fans, we want to see a competition between Red Bull and other teams, and the closest teams to them now are the McLaren and the Ferrari. So let's see how it runs out in Monaco and some other few races. But still, I'm still your best friend, Exxon F1. Bye, love you, cheers.